Find the person in your upline who has gotten what you want and hitch yourself to their star, because you want to be working with the ones who are ahead of you and do exactly what they're doing, because that'll get you where you want to go.
Welcome to Shift, an exclusive podcast by DSN. I'm your host, Blake Mallon, and this is where high-performing entrepreneurs and experts share their most powerful shifts in mindset, skill set, and strategy to help you accelerate your business and amplify your impact. I challenge you to be present, open your mind, and let the shift begin. Welcome to Shift. I'm your host, Blake Mallon, and we have an extraordinary leader, an absolute light with us on the show today. She began her career with a decade in traditional event planning and sales before making the shift to direct selling while raising her two younger children at the time. Fast forward now 23 years as a direct selling leader, with the last 15 focused on building an award-winning team with her current company, where I believe she was the very first consultant. Kind of a crazy story. We're going to dive into her superpower, leadership development, bringing out the best in others. She loves helping people discover their own unique gifts and strengths with thoughtful questions. I have a feeling we're going to dive deeper into that topic today. A philosophy that has definitely been very successful by the number of people in her team she has helped achieve the very top rank. Inspiring, to say the least. I think you're going to feel in today's conversation she has a very strong foundation of faith. She believes in putting people before products and recognizes that the lessons learned in this profession spill over and impact all areas of our life. Her mission: to help women use business as a vehicle to discover who they were created to be, and is committed to equipping as many as possible achieve their dreams. Today, we get to dive into her inspiring journey, the lessons learned along the way, and the powerful shifts that have shaped her success. Please help me welcome to the show, Betsey Bishop. Betsey, how are you?
Hey, Blake, I'm doing wonderful. So great to be with you. Thanks for the invitation.
Well, thank you. You're already glowing out there. So thank you for the time away from your family and your team. Where are you coming to us live from today?
I'm in Virginia. Been here for about 30 years.
Amazing. Well, thank you for spending the time. I know we have some mutual friends in the relationship. And I know I've been hearing like, you got to have Betsey on the show. You got to have Betsey on the show. You have a lot of advocates out there that have been nominating your name for a while. So thank you for the time today, and excited to dive deep.
We have lots to talk about.
Well, let's go ahead and start. I mean, I got the highlights of your story, right? So 23 years in the space, obviously the last 15 very focused on, your current endeavor. But let's just maybe rewind real quick, and let's just, for our audience that doesn't know your story, where this all began. What was that moment where you decided to make the leap into direct selling? And why don't we start there?
That's a great place to start. I was thinking back, I think I always had sort of an entrepreneurial bent. Even when I was in sales and event planning in my 20s, I was always writing business plans, like what I want to be an event consultant, what I want to. And it wasn't until my early 30s that I actually tried one or two health and wellness companies. I didn't get very far. I didn't know enough. I had tiny little children at the time, and the timing wasn't right. But looking back now, I can see that seed was already planted. I was watching successful people, and they were trying to mentor me, but I wasn't ready yet. Fast forward probably, I don't know, maybe age 37 or so. At that point, I had stayed home, was, serving on all the boards, doing all the things. And I needed something for myself. And I sort of jokingly say I needed to talk to somebody besides Barney and Bob the Builder. So, but what was funny is that I heard about a company that was opening a direct selling division, and I thought, and there was a picture of a girl on a beach with a cruise ship in front of her, and it said, you can earn trips. And I was like, I mean, we were a camping family at the time, super fun, great memories of camping. But I like a little luxury, and I thought, I wonder if I could earn a trip. So I joined my first company. I think the kids were 5 and 6 or something like that at the time. And it was a party plan company. So this was something, of course, and this was before texting, before Facebook. So everything in our industry at that time was very much in-person parties. We would go out and do parties with people. And so I got to get out the door a couple times a week go do parties, make money. And I earned that very first trip. And I was so excited. I'll never forget when I was touching down in St. Thomas on that very first trip, 9 or 10 months after I'd started. And I just cried. I was so proud of myself. And I thought, I figured out I had help. I had a wonderful upline leader who believed in me. And I thought, I think I could help other people do similar things. And so that was important to me over the next several years. I was with that company for about 7 years, class act, loved the product line. But there's something about the 7-year itch. I don't know, maybe it's just in my life. I don't know about you. But I ended up shifting over to this other company that I knew of, a brand that was opening a direct sales division through a good friend who was on their corporate staff. And I was able to come in as the first rep in that iteration of the company.
The very first, like number one, like 0001. That's crazy.
Well, and we kind of laugh about my ID number now because it only has 6 digits. Everybody else has 7. Maybe there are a couple of us that still have 6 who were left from that first year or so. But it is it's kind of funny when I think about it. But at the time, I thought, what? And it was in a space that I was not all that interested in, but I knew the parent company, and I thought that is a class act also. I bet I could. I've learned 1 or 2 things over time. Maybe I can take those 1 or 2 things and apply them to this new platform. So that's what I did. I was very excited to try my hand at something new. But again, I didn't know what I didn't know. Just like any of us, right? We have no idea. We have to learn along the way, and we have to remember too that success is going from failure to failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm. And so that's been the whole 15, almost 16-year ride, right? That's for anything. Whenever you're going to stick with something a long time, you're going to have that. And so, but that's the joy of it. I can set a goal, and I set goals right away for myself, but I can't hit that goal until I learn a lot of things, but they have to be learned in order, and you have to be open to them. So that's just been the joy of all of it, is helping women. In our particular company is way more women. There are a few good men in our line, mostly women. So when I say women, and when I'm talking generically about the industry, forgive me to the gentlemen who are listening. I mean all of you, but I tend to just I usually say she, her, those kinds of things.
Yeah, no worries at all. It's such an inspiring story. And there's a couple of things you mentioned that I'm excited to kind of dive deeper in and unpack. A camping family. You made me think about my upbringing. I grew up in a camping family. I've never described it that way, but that's like a perfect description. And the cruise story of St. Thomas, I can relate it. For me, it was the same thing. It was a Caribbean cruise I earned that shifted my perspective. So I love that in your background. What has been, in your 23 years, right, 15 in your current endeavor, how would you describe, what's been the most rewarding for you in the journey so far?
A couple of things. The first one has definitely been helping other people get to the top. That's been just a dream to see that happen, because I understand that kind of success changes lives. That kind of income changes families. It can change generations because of the things that affords for families. And so that's just my absolute heart. I love that. At the same time, there's the personal side of it. My kids watched me all these years setting goals and achieving most of them. And I have a daughter and a son. I wanted my daughter to have the understanding that she can set goals and achieve them also as she gets older, and for my son to have that kind of respect for women, and for entrepreneurship, for both of them to have a respect and a love for entrepreneurship. What's really sweet for me is I've been able to take both of them on several of the incentive trips with our company. And some of my sweetest moments have been, after I'll walk up on the stage with other, all the other achievers, come back down, sit down, at the table, and my son will lean over and say, "Mom, I'm so proud of you." Or my daughter will lean over and say, "Mom, I'm so proud of you." And, as a parent, when your child is just admiring what you've accomplished or appreciative of your hard work, it's just really it's very rewarding. So there's the macro, and then there's the personal side of. But I really feel like then there's also everything that's in the middle. What's in the middle is the women who I can help see their life differently. They come in and they learn something about themselves. And it doesn't happen. It's not that it's that thing that matters that changed in their understanding about themselves. It's where do they now go and apply it? Yeah, they're going to apply it to their new business, but they're also going to take that new confidence, that new skill set, that ability to talk to people or to understand people or ask good questions. They're going to take it to maybe their full-time job. They're going to take it into their family life or into their volunteer opportunities, and they're going to model those things for their children also. And so there are some intangibles almost that happen even with people who don't make it to the top, right? Mm-hmm. But they gain something so valuable from learning how to build a little business like this that could become something really big.
So you were the first. So that's kind of crazy. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if I've ever really spoken to a guest yet that was like number one, right? That's rare. And I know the first thing maybe that comes to a listener's mind is, oh, that's great. You're at the very beginning, something new, right? You get to be at the start. Tell us the real story. I want the real stuff of like the other side of the coin of like, what does it really take to be the first in something? And what did you have to learn and overcome?
In the beginning, it was a fledgling company and it was figuring itself out. Even though it has a fabulous parent company, it was still a different division and nothing like anything else within that parent. And so we were able to create a culture of sharing knowledge and best practices. I loved my previous company. It was an outstanding company. There was one glitch that I noticed, and it was silos of information. This organization had these great results, but they weren't willing to share, or they would just share in a very surface way. I just didn't want that. I wanted to build a team for myself, but just as much, and maybe even more, I wanted to build a company, because a rising tide floats all boats, right? If I can help other people build their teams too, then we get there a whole lot faster. And the really amazing thing is that all the women who came in and started building their organizations saw it the same way. And so right from the beginning, we were able to galvanize and link arms. And to this day, almost 16 years later, we are all sharing our best practices. We are all better because of one another. In fact, when I sit in the room with all these remarkable business builders, top leaders in our company, and they're all completely different one from another, it's a fabulous fabric that we've created. And when one is down, the other is up and can lift the other back out of the wave, the trough.
It's the beautiful thing about a blank slate, right? Is you get to create what you want to create. But I also know, because I've been around long enough and created, right, some things and being a part, that being a pioneer is tough, right? I mean, there's the old saying that the pioneers are the ones that get all the arrows in the back, right? They're the ones that have to blaze the trail before there is a trail. They're the ones that have to figure it out, right? So can you take me to maybe a season or a story where it was the struggle? Like, it was the struggle. Maybe this is where like the doubt was high. Maybe this is where you started second guessing. Maybe this is where there was, some sort of challenge that hit you. Like, take us to a moment where you were really in a struggle season. And then what did you learn in that moment that you've carried with you into who you are today and what you're creating today?
Yeah. So that's a great question. And I'll be honest, after 16 years, have been a lot of them, and some deeper and harder than others. I think the first is the fact that I had that fabric with other leaders, that I was able to work with them and they could see my struggle. I can remember a time when my daughter was very sick, and I had to step back a little bit to make sure I was paying enough attention to her while still trying to keep the business going. And what I was doing was then asking my leaders on my team to pour in more and to keep some of the momentum. And it gave them an opportunity to rise to the occasion and step into roles that maybe they wouldn't have otherwise. So, I tried to turn that into a bit of a positive. I think what was important was, first of all, I learned that I don't have to change my goal. I can just change the date. And there was a lot of that going on in those first 4 or 5 years with the company. Never shifting the goal. But I was willing to shift the date because the goal was worth it to me. and I still had it in mind. And I knew I could get there. It was just going to take longer than I fully expected. That's just like life, right? It's always going to be this weird squiggle.
Mm-hmm.
Having key people around me was really important. Having a coach who believes in you. At the time, I was working closely with our head of sales, who is still our head of sales. We have a very, very wonderful, stable home office. And she poured into me, and she said, I was in my company all these years as well. I understand that about these dips, and here's what I see in you. And that's an important concept, is when I have someone on my team who is struggling, I want to say, here's what I see in you. I know you can do this. If you did know what to do, what would you say? If you did know how to get out of this, what would you do? Sometimes we have to just force ourselves to push back and pretend we're telling somebody else what to do in order to pull ourselves out of something.
I love that. So don't change the goal, change the deadline, and give yourself the grace to do that, right? Because like you said, that is normal, and that's a part of the journey. I think that's amazing wisdom, and surround yourself with the right people to keep you on track, coaches, communities. You think these are all things we can apply regardless of where we're at on our journey.
I think so too. And I also love this concept. For years, I trained my team on CPTT. CPTT is consistency, persistence. They're two different things, but sort of linked. Training is the third one. And I didn't have the fourth one for quite a while, but then I started to understand that in addition to training, it's time. You have to give it time because life happens, right? And it does take time for all the seeds that you've planted to germinate, for you to water them, and then for you to get your harvest. It's not always an instantaneous thing. It doesn't happen as fast as we need it to or want it to. But consistency, persistence, training, and time, even in the face of adversity, you can still get there. Just don't change your goal. Just change your date, change your deadline.
And how do you have a delineation between the consistency and the persistency in your words?
Yeah. So to me, consistency is doing something every day for my business, touch it every day. Because if I treat it like a hobby, it'll pay me like a hobby. If I treat it like a business, it'll pay me like a business, right? Kind of basics. Persistence, though, is when I don't feel like doing it every day. Because I don't always feel like doing it every day. Nobody does. Well, there are some. Maybe you always did. But there are days when we just don't feel like it quite as much, right? And it takes a little bit more self-reflection. It takes a little more self-discipline. There are some things that I'm good at and a lot of things I'm not all that great at. And one of them is self-discipline. And so I actually wrote, I'm looking at it up on my whiteboard. It says, my discipline becomes my freedom. My discipline becomes my freedom. And some people would think, oh, that doesn't make any sense. When you're pigeonholing yourself and disciplining yourself, why is that freedom? Well, it's freedom because it's allowing me to make choices on my own terms. It's allowing me to choose to get my work done each day. And therefore, I will be building a business that will give me freedom. I will have the rest of my day free. My brain is free of anxiety. I don't have to worry about what I didn't get done, right? And so my freedom becomes my discipline becomes my freedom. And that's the persistence side of it. So you see, they're really intricately linked, but you can't really have one without the other.
No, I love that perspective. I've never heard it put so eloquently. And that is the case, right? Consistency. It's easy to be consistent when you want to. It's the persistence piece. It's being consistent when you don't want to.
You don't want to.
And discipline.
And here's what's the funny thing is that we are all volunteers in our sales organizations. We're not employees where we have a plan, and you have, like when I was in pharmaceutical sales, decades ago, they said, here's what you got to sell. So I had to sell that, right? No matter what, whether I felt like it or not, that's what I was going to do. Here we can go, I don't feel like it today. But persistence helps you to, and self-discipline really help you with that.
Go deeper there, just for one click. So have you developed any tools, any habits, any tricks for yourself to get you moving on the days you really don't feel like it, and or have found successful now in coaching, obviously a whole movement, right, of consultants and women to help them when they don't feel like it? Any insight?
Yeah, a couple of things, and they're different. They're a little bit different for myself versus other people because it's a different dynamic. When it's me and I don't feel like getting going in the day, I'll say, okay, well, I'm just going to do one thing. I'm just going to do one thing. And then I get the one thing done, and that kind of gets the wheels turning a little bit. And then my brain goes to the next one, and it's the same with house cleaning. or anything like that, cleaning out the garage. You do the one thing and suddenly you've backed your way into getting some more of it done. At least that's what my own brain works. I know a lot of other people are probably going, oh, she could probably do a whole lot better than that. But with other people, here's what I love. So I'm all about asking people questions when I'm coaching with them. And so, for example, let's say I'm working with you and you and I are talking about your week, and we want to figure out what you're going to do for the next couple of days, and you're a little lethargic and you're a little tired of it. And I'll say, okay, so I could say, hey, Blake, so today's Wednesday. We've got Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday before Thanksgiving week starts. How about you do this, and then you do this, and you do this? Sound good? And you'll nod, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds good. And I'll go, great, we're on the same page. Okay, doesn't work. So here's what I would do. I would say, Blake, okay, today's Wednesday. We've got Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday before the Thanksgiving holiday starts. Mm-hmm. What do you think you could accomplish? What do you want to accomplish between now and then? Like, how much money do you want to make? How much do you want to sell? Which customers do you want to talk to? Can you think of 3 that you want to check in with today, for example? They're kind of burning in the back of your mind. Let's talk about who those people are. Okay, tell me who they are. You write them down. And then when we're finished with the conversation, what has come out of your mouth is now what's true for you. It's not me saying, here's what I think you should do, but that's important because that's training. But the coaching side of it is me getting you to say it so that you're going to own it, right? And then your enthusiasm level will be higher because it came out of your mouth. What comes out of your mouth is what's true for you. So it works a little bit with myself. I don't coach myself all that well, but it's a whole lot easier with another person.
I want to dive deeper in this whole question philosophy in a minute here, because I think there's a lot there and I can hear your excitement around it. When you were talking, though, I wrote down inertia. It's kind of like an object in motion stays in motion. Get yourself in motion with just one step and you're probably going to stay in motion. I think that's incredible wisdom. And, I want to circle back real quick before we kind of dive into questions. You said pharmaceutical sales, right? So kind of prior to your leap in direct selling, you were in sales. Right. And in your 23 years, a lot of your current strategy and your environment, it really is a sales centric, right? Program. Yeah. I'm just curious, what's your personal belief or perception on the word sales?
When I say sales to other people, they say, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to sell anything. But they don't understand that in our conversation, they probably just sold me on an idea, or they probably just sold me on that restaurant that they tried last night. And they don't understand that it's actually more about enthusiastically sharing something with somebody in a way that we think will matter to them. It's honestly really about figuring out what it is that somebody wants and helping them get it. Zig Ziglar said, you can have everything you want in life if you help enough other people get what they want. So how do we apply that to what we do? We figure out what they want by asking good questions and then seeing how we can help them get that. And that's where more questions come into play. There's cheerleading, there's coaching, and there's training. And you can use all 3 of them when it comes to helping somebody understand how to be in a sales organization. But the primary goal is to pick a product that you love and just simply start talking about it. Enthusiasm. Well,
you just gave 2 very incredible, profound belief shifts, probably for most of our listeners right now, on how you interpret that word sales. I'm curious, did you always have that belief even prior to pharmaceutical or prior to direct selling around sales, or did you develop that somewhere somehow?
I think I developed it over time. I was probably more sales oriented in my first company than this one, where here I'm much more interested in developing people and their ability to sell and their understanding of what it means to sell. I was probably more product oriented in my first company and was learning the people side of it. But when I was in, for example, pharmaceutical sales in my early 20s, I learned the value of a plan because I was I knew all the stuff, but I was terrible at it. And I think they were wondering why they hired me. But then all of a sudden I thought, you know what, if I just break down this territory and on this week I do this and on this week and the first four weeks out of every month, I know exactly what I'm doing every single day, where I'm going to be, where I'm driving to, because back then you would drive and meet all the doctors and things. I realized that once I created that plan, I ended up in the top 5 in my region just because I had a plan. And back then, I wasn't selling anything. I was simply sharing information. It couldn't be really about my enthusiasm, but it could be about how I cared about people, right? How I showed up in that doctor's office, caring about the staff, having an interest in how their practice was going, how the doctor's practice, making sure he had all the educational information that he needed. And so that was a different kind of a selling, but I learned a lot about the power of a plan. And that was important to me. And I carried that through especially once I came to this company, and I started to see that people needed those guidelines, needed that little system. They needed systems.
Mm-hmm. Well, I love the way you put that, because you and I both know, and everybody listening, right, that's even been in their direct selling journey for any period of time, most people out there have a different belief system around that word sales, right? And that internal belief, whether they recognize it or not, say it or not, acknowledge it or not, maybe prevents us from moving forward. And I'm not going to say it as eloquently as you just did. I love the way you framed it. But what I heard was it's about you believing in something, you being excited. I think you said enthusiastic about something, and then you removing yourself and really being about the value that thing can bring to that person. And would you say that anything you would go deeper there on, would you say that that's kind of a core, that belief system, and what allows you to do what you do at the level you're doing it at today is kind of that core operating belief?
Oh, I think so too, because as a top leader, I'm not just selling product to my customers. And I do that. I'll do that every day. But I'm also selling the concept of leadership to people in my organization so that they see that it is for them. A lot of people self-exclude. They self-eliminate. Oh, I can't be her. You don't need to be me. You can be you. And I see something in you that tells me that you can do this and in your own way. And would you like to hear more about that? And my enthusiasm for them becomes the sell in a way, because I want people to understand that they're created for more, and I can help them get more within the boundaries of our company, for example.
Well, and I love how you highlighted that at the end of the day, we're all always selling, whether we use that word internally or not. We're always selling an idea, a belief, something we like, our kids, our parents, our friends, right? So I love that you highlighted that. Right. Would you say, and you've mentioned a couple of times, so are questions your primary tool or strategy, right, to kind of move people in that direction? Is that what you say? Or what strategies do you use, right, to go a layer deeper here on moving people in a direction that's best for them?
Yeah. I like to figure out who they are and say, you know what, I've noticed that you're really good at this. Did you know that? And I could see you taking that to the next level and helping a lot of other people do the same thing. And so much of this is asking the right questions and also not talking too much. So for example, if I'm offering the business to someone, you're sponsoring, recruiting, whatever the word is in different people's company. If I'm talking to someone about the business, I can remember, this is one of the biggest shifts I ever made. I can remember in my first company especially, I thought that if I'm just enthusiastic enough, if I'm simply smiley enough, if I just give enough information, then they're going to want to join my team. They're going to want to come do what I do. They want to come be me, all the things. And I didn't understand that it wasn't about me doing any of those things. It was about me seeing if there's any interest in them and fluffing that out and saying, so Blake, you just said, yes, you might be curious. What does that mean that you might be curious? Or somebody might say, yeah, I've always thought about doing what you do. Well, tell me what that means. What does that look like for you? Or it might be, I could see doing that someday when I retire. Oh, well, what would that be like for you? What would it be for? Would it be for fun or for money, or what would it be for? And asking the next question. Don't just jump and start feeding information, right? Because we might think that that's sales, but in reality, I'm not understanding what they really want. And so I want to identify what they really want. It's like going into the car dealership, and she's trying to sell me a car without asking me all the questions, right? It simply doesn't work. So in this case, I want to figure out, again, it goes back to what is true for her or him is what comes out of their mouths. And so the best I can do. In fact, I've got this, I use this thing that keeps me straight, WAIT and FAYC. So I got this from my coach, Lynn Conway. WAIT, why am I talking?
Okay.
And this is on a chip clip, by the way. This is my chip clip. So
I love it.
In my mouth. Why am I talking? FAYC, forget about yourself completely. Because if I'm talking to a hostess, we're a party company. If I'm talking to my team member, I'm talking to a potential team member, it isn't about me. It really is about her and getting her talking to me so that I can understand how to help her better. That's really what I care about. And so questions, the right questions help peel that onion, to get to the bottom of things.
We'll go deeper there because I can sense that it is kind of natural for you, but I also know you've done this professionally long enough and helped so many people replicate it that I know you have insight on how to coach. So go deeper on the questions when it comes to, is there like a list? Like, do you have kind of like your go-to questions on that first phase to get the intake, or your go-to questions on the next step, or your go-to questions in a social environment? Like give us the cheat sheet in your brain of like the most powerful questions we can have in our arsenal here.
I do actually. I actually did a talk to a women's group last year on the power of questions, and I covered a lot of those sort of little parts of life. Like what do you do when you're at a dinner party, you don't know anybody? What are the questions that you want to have in your back pocket? One of the foundational things is that some people are very afraid to ask questions because they think it's impertinent. I had a team member, a top leader at one point, and I was trying to help her get unstuck. And we were working on this idea of asking more questions and all, and she started to cry. And she said, and I asked her why she was crying. She goes, I was taught that it's rude to ask any questions. And so it was so against the grain. It was like physically painful for her to ask. She got past it. I mean, she really worked through it. But there are people who have been taught don't ask any questions because it's rude. But here's the thing, we're asking questions to help uncover what somebody is thinking and what they care about. So if somebody's brand new and she's just joined my team, I want to find out all about her. Of course, all the obvious things, what do you do in life? What's your life like? But tell me what brings you here. What brought you to this company? And she'll give me the sort of primary answer. And maybe she'll say, well, I really want to make some extra money. I love that. What kind of money are you talking about? Okay, and she'll answer that. How would it make you feel to earn that kind of money? What is it for that's important to you? And so that I suddenly understand, so that again, what comes out of her mouth is what's true for her. And now I'm helping her say out loud and how to set a goal of what she cares about. Up until now, it's been rattling around in her head. I want to give her the space and the platform to say it out loud. A lot of times we need somebody to pull it out of us so that it's really clear. And then the great thing is that then we're both clear. And here's what's really cool. When I can understand what she really wants, a couple months down the road, a couple years down the road, she might say, I don't know why I'm doing this. I need a why. I'll say, remember when we got started 2 months ago, 3 weeks ago, whatever, you mentioned you wanted this, this, and this. Is that still true? Or has something changed? It's okay. Let's talk about that too. So much of it is, as opposed to me like giving her 5 more steps, right? Because that's what we do. We train, we cheerlead. But sometimes we just need to be the coach with the really good questions that give her breathing room and allow her to figure out what it is that she really wants at this point. And then help her to get that, help her to pivot and get that.
So good and so valuable. And I hope everybody that's listening right now, you're not just, letting it kind of go one ear and out the other. These are literally tools that Betsey is giving us that she is using to create a movement right now. And they're simple, but they're profound. Like, these are questions we all can take, we can write down, we can memorize, we can put in our pocket, right? And bring into our world and all of our conversations, right? And use them to accelerate our business. Before we move off this kind of question section, so to speak, any other insight, any other questions that you find are like, man, this is something you need and can move you forward in any aspect of the business, at any stage of building the business? Anything else top of mind?
Right. I think it's when I see someone who really has and I don't like the word potential, but when I see someone who is in motion, has her own oxygen mask on, she's doing things that the other people are not doing. Those are the high flyers. And by the way, if you want to really build a team, pay attention to those people, because the other ones, they deserve love, appreciation, all that, but not so much your time, because there's an opportunity cost and you only have so much time. But when you see those people, you want to approach them and say, I see a leader in you. Is there something more that you would like to have in this company that you've identified? Because I want to help you get there. And I think that's important, because they need to hitch their star to somebody who's already gotten where they want to go. And this is a point that I'll make to everybody who's listening. If you want more than what you're getting, find the person in your upline who has gotten what you want and hitch yourself to their star, because you don't want to be synced up with people who are kind of right where you are. You want to be working with the ones who are ahead of you and do exactly what they're doing, because that'll get you where you want to go. That's super important. But I think it's that, be watching for the talent, watch for those campfires that are turning into big bonfires, and start working with them and see what else you can do with them. Ask them those questions. What else do you see yourself doing? Have you seen anything else in the company that looks like fun? Do you want to earn the next trip? I see a leader in you and I'd love to help you.
I love just the foundation you're giving us, both the philosophy of kind of what they say is true for them, and then the tools, right? The practical, questions you're giving us that we can use to help move people forward. I think this is super valuable for everybody listening right now. Let's say we master the question, conversation. We get good at this rapport and figuring out what someone wants and moving them forward. Talk to me about kind of the art of the presentation in your world, because whether the presentation today is in a party, right, or in a room, or on a Zoom, or on a call, has the presentation piece of the system, so to speak, been a core part of your business and your growth? Is it still today, or not so much?
What do you mean by presentation? Presentation.
Well, a presentation like at a party, right, on your product or your business, or a presentation on a Zoom or whatever. Maybe you have a different language that you use, but and maybe it's not relevant. I'm hearing your journey from pharmaceutical to direct selling to building a system. Yeah. Is presentation, like the art of giving a presentation, has that been core in your skill set or not really? And it's okay if not. I'm just curious.
I do think so. I mean, storytelling in sales is always valuable, right? And because we're a party plan, we get in front of people. That's sort of the way that we sell. You get 8 or 10 women in a room doing something together, and that's a whole lot of fun. And to your point, as we've said in the past, community and connection are just really a whole lot of fun, and everybody's craving that, right? So yeah, what has happened is our messaging hasn't changed at all. Here's our product. Here's who our company is. Here's what our company is all about. Here's our parent company. Here's our product. Here's what our, all of the bells and whistles about our product. Here's how you get great deals on our product. Here's how you can get more of our product. Here's how you can sell our product, right? And so that's kind of like the whole arc of what we would do in a live presentation. We can do the same thing on Facebook parties. We can do the same thing on Zoom parties, right? We can do the same thing on texting parties. It's crazy, the things that we learn how to do during the pandemic, but still keeping the key messaging, as the core. We don't want to, I think here's the key. We don't want to miss all of the pieces, because all of the pieces are important. Who your company is important. What your company offers is important. All the things your company offers. I think one of the biggest things that I've been thinking about the last 6 months or so, and a friend of mine who was a top leader, we had dinner together and we hit on this idea that TDKWTDK, they don't know what they don't know. So my customer does not know what she doesn't know, right? She can say, I love your product, but she doesn't know anything. She knows 10% of what she needs to know about our product, right? And if I miss any part of my, my whole arc of my presentation, I'm kind of doing her a disservice, but I'm assuming, she knows that. Well, she knows she can come do this because she sees me doing it. Of course she knows she can do it. They don't know what they don't know. And I think this is one of the biggest fallacies in our industry, is that regardless of how we do our presentation, we assume people know that they can come do it with us, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it really does take a personal invitation. It really does take a one-on-one saying, I absolutely love what I do. I would love if you would come do this with me, or at least just talk to me about it. Maybe it would be something fun. It would scratch an itch for you, and see what the interest is. And the funny thing is, I call that's planting a seed, right? What I'm trying to do is create a pipeline. All these seeds of people who are saying, maybe not today, but maybe eventually. I write her down, right? So eventually I can swing back around to her. But the entirety of the presentation is so important because I can't assume that she knows any of it. And even if I see her 5 times at a party, I still need to keep saying all those things to her because it's going to hit her differently today than it hit her the first time and the second time and the third time.
And is that arc, as you're describing, right, those pieces of quote unquote, the presentation that we all give, is that something that you practiced? Is that something that you had to develop to become a master at when you're teaching your community of women? Like, is this a skill set we learn and practice, or is this something that we just hope we eventually get, or do we just rely on a video today? Like, what's your take on this art?
Yeah, you bring up that's such a great point. We spent a lot of years figuring out what to say at a party about our product line, and what was the right tone, what are the key pieces of information, and so it took us a while to get to it, but we practice it, and that's something that we've kind of gotten lax about. Once the pandemic hit and we were doing things online, it was just, there was less community and connection. It was more bam, sell this. Oh, this is pretty. This looks great. I want to try this product. And there was less connection, less opportunity to give all those pieces and parts to people. And we're trying to get back to running the whole arc of all the things that we can offer. And I think that's important. Whatever your company is, it offers way more than just that product, your favorite product. It offers more products. It offers, a business. It can offer leadership. It can offer whatever you all have. But we can't assume that people know that. And you do have to practice it. You really do. Because so that it rolls off your tongue. And learn how to say it in ways that suit your style. That's important too. Top leaders in our company all have very different ways of presenting the same information. I love hearing other people in my company do a party presentation because I get so many ideas. I mean, they're all creative people. And I learn new ways of saying things. And so the practicing, listening to others practice, become a student of the game. Get good at that one thing, and you'll be way more confident in any of the settings that you get thrown into.
I'm glad you said that and very, very clearly articulated. And because I've been seeing the same thing kind of across the channel, is kind of call it pre-pandemic and for like the whole existence of time our channel has existed. Like presenting was an art. You developed the skill, you learned, right? And you always adapted and make it your own, but it was something you worked toward mastering.
Yes.
As a core piece of building a community. And for whatever reason, I think it's just you, and I appreciate the transparency on what you said with you and your team. But I think that's in general, kind of through pandemic, we maybe lost a little bit of that intention and that art. Exactly. And I was just curious if like what you're saying, it's something that's coming back. Is there any other pieces kind of post-pandemic that are different today? Like things that were working that aren't, things that didn't work that are, things you're doing more of or less of? Like what's your team today look like that's maybe different than it was right in the past? I'm curious.
Right. Yeah. There's so much that's different. It used to be a very linear business. When I say linear, that's probably not the right word, but we knew what we were doing. There was one thing that we did, and it was parties. Sometimes it was a catalog party. I'd hand you a catalog and a stack of order forms, and you'd go to your office and you get people to fill it all out. And it was very old school. Now we have all these other ways of doing this. And it's funny because I can remember even right before the pandemic happened, I remember we were on an incentive trip and I was sitting in the pool with another top leader discussing the business. And she said, we really should get better at doing Facebook parties. I think we could get good at that. I'm like, we need to go back and take a look at that. Bam, 5 days later, everything's shut down. We come back from the Bahamas and the whole world has gone crazy. And sure enough, within one weekend, our home office basically spent 3 entire days over a long weekend figuring out how we could do Facebook parties, how we could do Zoom parties, like what are all the materials that we're going to need. And so the cool thing and the challenge is that we have many more ways of reaching people. We were suddenly doing parties with women in other places on Zoom, meeting, face to face on Zoom with women all over the country. I could have never met these women in any other way. I couldn't have met them because they didn't live within an hour of me, right? Necessarily. And so that was such a fun twist to setting aside everything that was happening in the world. That was a really fun twist in business. The cool thing is that we still do that. We can still do Facebook parties. We can still do Zoom parties. We can still do texting parties. And so we created all these.
What's a texting party? I just elaborate there. It's
just simply it's sort of a group text. You have to have group texting availability on your phone, right?
Okay.
It's a series of posts to 5 or 8 women who have
so like 5 or 8 women, like in a text thread or a WhatsApp thread.
They're like a little text thread that goes on for 3 days. Here's your link. Here's some more pictures. Here's some more, some more testimonials or whatever, that kind of thing. Simple, effective, yet another way of using technology to accomplish.
Does it have a start time and an end time predefined, or how's this work?
Yeah, it would go on for maybe 3 days. And that's what the host would say is, hey, we can do this. It's only 3 days long. We'll start it on Friday, end it on Sunday night, get you to the hostess, get you a whole bunch of orders. Here's the thing. Again, we're talking about community and connection. What happens, though, is we meet these people this way, but then it's on us to reach out and really connect with them and build a relationship, build a rapport to these new customers that our hostess has introduced us to. Again, this is Party Plan we're talking about. But, and I think this is one of the most interesting challenges. Suddenly, if somebody's buying something from my product line because they saw it on Insta, I'm running stories, I'm running reels, I'm running, posts between Facebook and Insta. I mean, we got all the things that we've all gotten good at, or we're trying to get good at. People start ordering things. I don't know them, right? I didn't meet them at a party. Okay, so now my wheels are spinning. Okay, let's add that to the list. Now I want to reach out to that person and build community with her. Find out who she is. How did she see this? How does she like her? Has she tried her product yet? Does she like it? It's more on us to make sure that we are really being personal with those customers who are buying from us online, because otherwise they're just going to go down the road to somebody else for something else. But
what does that look like in your world? So I'm hearing personal, I'm hearing connection, I'm hearing the intention, I'm hearing community, but on like a practical level, what does that look like?
It's a whole other layer, but again, that's being good on the sales side, period. Again, I'm not a disciplined person, and so I have to create systems for myself and recreate systems for myself, constantly recreating systems that are going to work for me, because I can't stick with them for very long. I'm more of a high idea generator. But the cool thing is, in my company, for example, we send out emails to all of the customers 7 times a month or something like that. Just not as much as Ann Taylor and all the other, big brands out there. But it gives me a chance to figure out what's going on. Like, what did they like? What are they clicking on? Those kinds of things. And then I can follow up with those key people. I feel like, however, when I have done really good customer service, reached out, how you're liking your new product? Can you fill me a little, how are you using your product? How do you, is there something else? Hey, we have a sale. Would you like to see it? Hey, there's an event on Tuesday night. Would you like an invitation to it? Finding ways of connecting with them, because I never know. She could be my next new team member. She could be my next top leader. I have no idea unless I ask, again, reach out and ask the questions and try to create a relationship with her.
I love that. It's such a great point. I think all of us, if we're willing to look in the mirror and be honest with ourselves, we all can do a better job at that. Because as a channel, like it did, we went through this crazy period where it forced a disconnection, and it takes an intention to kind of create a system to allow us to reconnect.
Great.
You mentioned something that triggered a question, Betsey, like, so sometimes we're forced to adapt, right? And some of the things you've mentioned, we all got forced to adapt. Yeah. But it seems you've done an amazing job over 2+ decades to stay current, stay relevant, stay using what is available today. So like, talk to us about your choice to adapt, right? When you're not forced, and any insight on what you personally do to stay relevant and current and using all the advantage that building in today, right, allows us to have.
Right. That's a great question. And I'm older than most, but I'm fortunate in a way. A lot of my contemporaries, not necessarily in the industry, although some, didn't stay aware of what was happening in technology and never really got onto social media. And I think that's to their detriment if they want to be in an industry like this. I think because I didn't lose momentum in technology starting 20, 30 years ago, I've been able to keep up with all of the things that are happening. But at the same time, I mean, now we're talking about a generation, right? A whole generation later, I'm still doing this business. So the leadership concepts are still universal, right? Selling concepts are still universal. But we've got these new words that we need to change how we say things. Heather Chastain wrote that wonderful article, Words Matter. Was that the name of it? Words Matter? That DSN just published in October. Wonderful article, so thought-provoking. I'm still chewing on it and thinking, okay, how do I shift my whole arc of my presentation to use different words? Because things fly out of my mouth that I'm used to saying for the last 20 some years. And I need to become more relevant in how I say them, because I have women on my team in their early 20s all the way up to their mid 70s. I have a wide range of women, and I want to keep attracting a wide range of women. I want to be able to be relevant, provide a relevant experience for all of them. And I need to make sure that I'm using the right words, especially when I'm in certain groups with certain groups of people. So that's a piece of it. You know, some things are going to fly over my head. Some things don't pertain to me. But when we start talking within my leader group about ChatGPT, you know, somebody said, I want to come up with something for the next 3 weeks before we finish for the holidays, or something during Thanksgiving week. And I put in a prompt for ChatGPT, and here's what I got. And she shared it with us. And we were like, this is genius. Okay, this is the stuff that we will be doing a lot more of. But I want to embrace it as opposed to saying, oh, that's, you know, hey, you know what? This is fun. I think we're entering a golden age in network marketing and direct selling. There are so many things that we're going to be able to do with AI. And I've barely scratched the surface in understanding any of it, but I'm already loving what I'm seeing. And I think it's just going to be a ton of fun.
I love the term golden age, and your whole face lit up when you said that. What does that mean to you? What excites you right now? Like, what's the Betsey vision? What is the golden age? If you were to pull out your hope crystal ball, like, where are we going?
You know, I feel like we have entered, we're in this sort of gig economy. And I love that direct sellers were sort of the original gig economy, in my opinion. And I'm such a fan of Uber. I mean, that's the craziest concept, but it's entrepreneurs doing their thing, making money with a platform. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. Except that they can't make money off of other people doing it with them. So that's not great. That's why I love our industry so much, because we can empower others to do something great, and we can help, we can change their lives. And again, meet our goals, reach our goals. I think more and more people are going to want to come and do this with us. I think we're going to have better and more interesting products available. And I'm talking, a decade or two from now. Other industries will see that this is a great way of selling. That doesn't have to be affiliate, doesn't have to be at Best Buy. There are other ways of sell that you could sell that people can make money as entrepreneurs. I'm just an entrepreneur at heart, and anything that I can, I'm 100% behind any opportunity where people can make money on their own and build a business for themselves. I just love it.
I could ask questions all day, and I'm loving this conversation and the wisdom that you're giving all of us. And I want to be mindful of your time and give some time for any closing thoughts that you have that maybe we haven't covered. But before I go there, Betsey, can we just do a rapid fire round? Can I ask you just 3 stupid rapid fire questions? Is that okay? Mm-hmm. Okay, these are similar questions I've asked most guests. There's no right or wrong answer. It's just the first thing that comes to your mind. And in as few words as you can. It might be one word, it might be a short sentence, but I'm curious. And you've already, through this dialogue, touched on so many what I would call mind shifts, right? Belief shifts, perspective shifts. And the whole kind of ethos of the show and shift, it's not just about the shift in the world or the shift in the channel, but it's really about a belief that the right shift up here in our mind at the right time can change everything in our life and in our business. So I just want to ask you some direct questions. Let's start with maybe like your professional life, your career, right? This entrepreneurial venture you've been on for the last 23 years. If you were to highlight just one of the most significant shifts, you went from telling yourself one thing to
Mhm.
telling yourself another that has contributed to your success, right? As a direct selling entrepreneur today professionally, what's one shift that comes to mind?
The biggest one, and I have to keep making it, is you belong here.
Second question, same question, personal life. So you as a person, who you are today, who you are becoming in the now, what's one significant shift just in your personal life that's allowed you to, get to who you are and where you are today?
You know what I would say, honestly, it's my faith in a God who has a plan for me and put me in that role
Mm,
all those years ago. And on the days when it's hard and I'm like, oh, why am I doing this? I I am reminded that I was in that role. I was there on that first day and for a reason, and I'm to keep going until told otherwise.
I love it. You light up when you say that. And the last question is kind of a visionary, fun question. And, it really stems from me thinking about and really fantasizing about the power of our entire channel across the world. And I
Mhm.
don't know what the number is today if we were to add up like every distributor, consultant, affiliate, every term we call ourselves, but I know it's a lot, right, across the whole planet that are involved in a company, a brand, a mission, right, and using direct selling as a way to bring something they love to the world. And I often think about, what if you had the superpower right now to like snap your fingers and you could give every single distributor and every company and every brand like one belief shift right now. You could snap your fingers and insert that as a gift to them. What gift would you give them?
Oh, if I could get them to believe that if they just keep going, they'll get there. If they just keep going, they will
Mm-hmm.
get there. Because it's the quitting that keeps them from getting there. It's the I'm going to keep jumping companies until I find the right one. Keep going with the one you're with, unless it's awful, but
Mm-hmm.
probably it's not. Keep going. Learn the things that you need to learn about that company and don't quit.
So good. If we all believe if we keep going, we will get there. We will keep going, and I believe you that we will get there. So profound. That's a gift from all of you guys out there. From Betsey, absorb that one. This has been amazing. I want to leave room for any other closing thoughts that maybe might be on your mind or your heart. Betsey, this has been already such a valuable conversation. And you've given us so much in both a philosophy or a belief. I love the shift in how you eloquently put like what sales means to you and how we can maybe reframe that so we can step into our power and give people that value. I love the grace you taught us in terms of, hey, you don't change the goal, just move the date. We
True.
all can do that. We'll need to do that. You've given us a masterclass today in questions in every stage of this business, and I hope people listen and re-listen and re-listen and
Topic.
write these down
Mhm.
and use them. Wait, FAYC. And frameworks, right? The CPTT and a variety of formulas that you've given us that we can apply in the midst of your story, your journey, and everything that really is the foundation that's allowed you to do what you are doing today for so many people. So, is there anything else before we round out that you want to share with all of our audience?
I would say I'd go back to the concept of you can have everything you want in life if you help enough other people get what they want. It really is about people more than product. And I can spin for a long time making money and selling stuff, but we're put on this planet to make a difference. And I think it's the people that are put in our path, impacting them in a positive way, making a difference in their lives, even in some small way. That actually is what matters in the long run here and in eternity for me in my perspective. That's what I really care about. I love knowing that somebody's life, somebody's family is happier or better because they were either joined my team, were a hostess of mine, a customer of mine. It really is all about the people way more than anything else, and especially the people who are in my company. I absolutely adore them. I don't compete with any of them. I want to see them thrive, even if they thrive way past me. That thrills me to pieces because it's always about people. It just has to be.
Well, Betsey, one thing I know is true. You are making a difference. You are changing so many people and families' lives, happy, joy, prosperity, all the things in what you do every single day. And today you took time away from all of them and your family to give that wisdom and impart that journey onto all of us, equally making a difference and an impact. And we thank you for doing all of that. And I know anybody, whether they just got started today in their journey, right? Or they're a leader of leaders, with a movement around the world and everywhere in between. Everyone listening right now, today's conversation, there's something that I know is going to elevate your life and your business. So Betsey, thank you for that. For everybody listening, the only way we know if today add value to you is if you let us know. You know how to do that and where to do that. You can find us at shiftpodcast.com for all the places, listen on all the platforms. I love Betsey's glowing. You can feel her energy. You can see her face. I'd make your way over to YouTube and watch this. And obviously now this is not only a gift for you and your team. We hope you share, but everybody alongside us in this journey of direct selling, share the show, help us get the word out. I love how Betsey said, the rising tide raises all ships or floats all boats. And that's all we're trying to do with our conversation today. So Betsey, thank you for your time, and all the listeners out there, thank you for joining us. Let's continue to make the shift and raise the tide across our channel together. Betsey, thank you so much for your time today.
I appreciate you.
Until next time, everybody, let's make the shift.